G'day, guys and gal. Or as the Germans say, Das Vierte Reich wird auferstehen. It's no secret that Games Workshop have based a lot of Warhammer Fantasy's geography and races and factions on real life. We have Britannia, who are the French, Albion, who is Britannia, the Dark Elves are from Canada before they chilled out and started becoming really polite, and the Empire is Nazi Germany.
But Majorkill, the Empire is not based on Nazi Germany, it's based on the Holy Roman Empire.
Then why do I feel like I'm committing genocide when I overcast Flamestorm, huh? Answer that to me, you little shizen. The Empire is a collection of various states stitched together in a complex political system, full of a lot of diverse people and places. Well, I mean, everyone is white and German, but there's a lot of diversity considering that minor detail. Before we get to it, I have something cool to show ya. Everyone knows that the best gaming experience is on a monitor 2K or above, and 120 refresh rate or above. Like, if you do not have one of these, you are probably bottlenecking your graphics, and you should totally get one. So when Jenny from BenQ sent me the BenQ EX2780Q, which stands for Extra Xanax at 2780 Quack, to play with and review, I was pretty stoked. Note the review part, they asked me to be totally honest and not paying me monies, so you know I'm going to be telling the truth about it. Now with my current setup, I now have the BenQ, an Asus Predator that I bought with my very first real YouTube paycheck, and a piece of shit that broke and fell on me during a stream and is now held together with super glue, melted plastic, my Bluetooth headset and sheer faith in will. I'll be comparing the Asus to the BenQ as they have similar specs off the bat. Straight away I noticed the BenQ's colours are deeper and more saturated, as you can see in this example, and it also has better audio thanks to its inbuilt soundbar. Which means I don't have to rely on overpriced Tangled speakers anymore.
Piece of shit.
It also has a USB-C port, which means you can use it with a Mac laptop, although not sure why you would be gaming on a Mac laptop unless you're a degenerate. In saying that though, the Asus allows you to plug your mouse and keyboard directly into the monitor, which is something the BenQ lacks. Off the bat, the BenQ is about $200 dues cheaper, so...
Nice.
The Asus is way more ergonomical in its movements and adjustability, but I haven't found this to be too much of an issue for the BenQ yet. Now something awesome about the BenQ is... Wait, where is it?
Sam! The fuck are you doing? Dude, I didn't realize Jenny sent you the fucking BenQ as well. Dickhead.
What the fuck are you doing, dude?
Mate, take the shit monitor next time.
The BenQ has a really neat controller that comes along with it, so you don't have to press every button 20 times to figure out what it does, like on most other monitors. Overall, the BenQ is a really solid high performance and good value monitor. The enhanced speakers are really neat, but I usually use a headset anyway, so I haven't used them that much. If I was to go back in time and choose between the BenQ or the Asus, I'd probably go with the BenQ, as it's a bit cheaper, the colours are richer, and it's easier to configure and understand. If you want to learn more about the BenQ or how to get one, then the link is in the description and comments below. Today we'll look at who the Empire is and how they were founded. We'll also look at some pivotal moments in their history and also have a deep dive into their very overpowered messiah Sigmar. We'll then have a look at how their end times went. Let's get into it. Mankind are one of the newer races in Warhammer Fantasy world. When the old ones were creating the world and seeded it with life, they created various races such as the Lizardmen and Elves to act as guardians of the planet. Now either in experimentation or even accidentally, the old ones also created other races, like Mankind and the Dawe. However, mostly ignored them as the elves had better big titty Eldar girlfriends, and midgets are gross. Hence, Mankind were not very present nor active during Chaos's first invasion of the world, and had to get carried by Lord Croak and Anarian. With the High Elves and Dawe going full retard sometime after Chaos's invasion and fighting a war against each other, a lot of land was left free for Mankind to claim. Hence, many peaceful druid-like men and women set up tribes and villages in the old world and began living peaceful lives. These were not to be the ancestors of the Empire nor Sigmar. He could never be related to some tree-hugging hippies. Hence, soon various other humans migrated across the World's Edge mountain and quickly genocided the shit out of the druids and took all their lands. Because in a franchise with the name of a blunt force impact weapon, peace is for pussies. These tribes were comparable to ancient barbarians, as they raided and raped each other, whilst also occasionally getting wrecked by greenskins. So the reason why this ragtag group of human tribes could survive despite having no army, armor, good weapons, magic, guns, or faith is because they didn't have any significant predators. Chaos had been defeated for now, the Dawe were holding back most of the greenskins, Skaven didn't and still don't exist, and the vampires were still figuring out how sunscreen worked, hence there was just not a problem yet. Over the years, however, the Dawe declined due to a lack of reproduction, due to even midgets finding other midgets unfuckable, as well as an increase of greenskin invasions, hence more and more orcs poured into the old world and started kicking its ass. This could have been it for the Empire, but then Murder Jesus arrived, and for some unspecified reason was basically Primarch tier. His first famous act was when a Dawe caravan was attacked by orcs and their High King was taken prisoner. Sigmar charged forth and fought the orcs. He fought their war boss but couldn't overcome it until the Dawe King threw him a golden Warhammer. Sigmar then said to the war boss, "Hey fuckhead, spraken ze dick," before splattering his brains with a fat swing of the Warhammer. This hammer was to be called Galmaraz, the Skull Splitter, as, you know, it split skulls pretty nicely. This also sealed a forever lasting friendship with the dwarves between man. Murder Jesus would then go on a cute little genocide as he tore across the Empire, uniting the human tribes and killing the greenskins. Each tribe was very diverse, so required different methods to unite. Some needed bribery, some needed a show of strength, and then for humans living in Middenheim, Sigmar straight up had to murder their king. He also nearly destroyed Norska and also killed a dragon ogre in a 1v1, so yeah, that's pretty cool. One tribe, however, got scared of the Empire, and fled down south to eventually create Bretonnia. Yes, the irony of the French faction fleeing from the German faction is not lost on me. Sigmar received word that the biggest greenskin army ever assembled was heading towards to destroy the Empire through the Blackfire Pass, and the dwarves, hence he went forth to meet them. The battle that occurred was hectic, as the combined might of humanity and the Dawe crashed against almost every single greenskin alive. However, it was Murder Jesus who came out on top, as he killed hundreds of greenskins by himself and then crushed the brains of their leader. It is said that so many greenskins died that day that it would take thousands of years for them to recover their numbers, despite how fast their reproduction is. After kicking the wah straight in the balls, Sigmar went about building the Empire. He built roads, cities, weapons and armor. He formed the tribe leaders into counts and built the future of mankind. Sigmar still had some shit to deal with, as the Norskins came back to attack his land. During this invasion, Sigmar removed a new crown off a dead necromancer, Nagash's crown of sorcery. Whoops. Sigmar then put on this crown because it had better stats than his other one, but had a hidden passive of making you an asshole. Hence, instead of uniting his people and driving off the Norskins, Sigmar instead attacked his own people. He was only able to overcome the crown through, I'm not even kidding, the power of friendship. Sigmar was then able to use that power of friendship to lose his next battle against Norska and retreat into Middenheim, where an epic battle took place. The battle ended with Sigmar 1v1ing a demon prince of Khorne and smashing its brains out. Epic. Sigmar then once again genocided Norska, killing every man, woman and child he could. Man, I'm really impressed with Norska's reproduction rates. They live in a harsh, chaos-infested wasteland in a constant state of war and genocide, yet they still raise massive armies of roided out protein junkies every couple of years. Everything was good again until it wasn't, as Nagash had come back to clap some cheeks. The Empire was flooded with the undead, as Nagash beelined to get his crown back. Sigmar did the old bait of Rooney, and he held out Nagash's crown to him. Nagash reached for it, and while he was distracted, Sigmar caught him with a cheeky uppercut from Galmaraz and blew him to smithereens, hence saving the Empire. Again. Sigmar would go on to save the day one final time, when Chaos invaded the world again, in the form of their very first ever chosen. Sigmar led his armies into battle once more, and as usual, Sigmar crushed the brains of the invading enemy warlord and shattered his host. As such, mankind's legacy would be secure until the destruction of the world during the end times. Satisfied that he had carried humanity pretty damn hard on his back, Sigmar left the Empire without telling anyone, went to the mountains and wheeled himself to godhood to join Ulrich in his pantheon of human gods. While we're talking about the gods, let's talk about the gods. The Empire's primary god at the time was Ulrich, the god of wolves and fire and shit, and he was like their Odin. Human gods formed like the other gods in the way that collective belief created them and made them stronger. There were old gods of the Druids who the Empire inherited like Tal and Rhea, who were the gods of like plants and mushrooms and shit. And then there was also Mahan, who was probably the same god as the elves Mathlan. Then the Empire created new gods as well, like Mor, the god of death, who Nagash ended up eating, and everyone's favourite god Ranald, god of luck and taking away your winds of magic, like the cheeky slut he is. Sigmar's ascension to godhood quickly made him the dominant god of the Empire pantheon, and praised by most of the southern parts of mankind's lands, whilst Middenheim and other northern provinces continue to praise Ulrich or Tal as their chosen god. This would go on to create quite a number of problems for the Empire, as they fought over who deserved more praise, even though Ulrich was fucking Sigmar's god and they were probably best mates in heaven. Now Sigmar was a bit like the god emperor of mankind in the way that despite doing lots of intelligent good things, he was also a bit of a dumb cunt, who didn't realise he was carrying humanity, and that without him, humanity would suck. Hence Sigmar left no heirs and no successors, creating a fat power vacuum when he spontaneously vanished. The counts nearly entered into a civil war over the issue, but decided democracy was a better option, hence they elected one from their ranks as emperor and called themselves the elected counts. This sounds like a massive win, until we realise how corrupt the counts were. See, they never elected who they thought was best for the role as emperor, and instead elected who bribed them the most. If you wanted their votes to be emperor, you would have to either promise them special powers or provide them wealth and influence, so the position of emperor became a bit more of a slut. This didn't matter too much, however, as for the next 1,000 years there was no one really to oppose the Empire. Chaos and Greenskins had their asses kicked prior to this, so the Empire, while shitty, had no issue continuing to expand and flourish. However, as with all races, it seems that easy times create weak leaders. The Empire became full of art students that spent all day fucking each other and eating food, as emperor after emperor became fat cunts that all had orgies all day. Not saying I blame them, but yeah, not exactly a splitting image of Sigmar. This was not to last, however, as the Skaven had built up their forces and launched a massive invasion of the Empire, taking dozens of settlements and killing lots of people. Only when the Elector Count of Middenland, probably the only province not full of pussies at this point, came forth and genocided the Skaven was the Empire saved, and he was elected as their new emperor. He did a really good job of it as well, rebuilding and recovering, until he was assassinated in his sleep by Clan Ishin as revenge. The trend of bribing, sucking and fucking your way to emperor would continue until eventually we come into the age of the three emperors, which is the time period that the Return of the Old World is based on. As such, I expect a lot of what is recorded here to be reconned, to be more interesting and deep, so I won't look at this period too much now. Basically, a Sigmarite Stirlander was elected as emperor, but then some bitch in Tabiclan declared herself empress and banned the cult of Sigmar. Hence it was a conflict between the faith of Ulrich and Sigmar initially, until the Elector Count of Middenland felt left out and declared himself as the emperor. Now the Age of Three Emperors was a multi-generational thing, like this shit went on for like 600 years, as the Empire decayed severely and all notion of unity died. It was a wonder how the Empire would then go on to repel a fuck-off massive WAH! As well as beat Vlad, Conrad and Manfred, all in different vampire wars. By the end of the era of the three emperors, no one was actually recognised as emperor anymore, hence the position was vacant for quite a while. The wars had annihilated more than one province and had built distrust amongst the rest of the Elector Counts, who were sick of each other's bullshit. Hence Chaos reared its impressively reproductive head once again, and a mighty host of Chaos warriors clad in steel-forged armour marched down south towards Kislev. Their first target was Prague, which in the Warhammer Fantasy equivalent of Stalingrad, due to how many people die each time Prague is attacked by Chaos. Chaos delivered their corrupted schlong deep into the arse of Prague, and destroyed it quite violently. They then beelined to Kislev. The Tsar of Kislev was like, "Hello my alien friends, please help me and I'll give you the vodka." And the Empire was like, "Oh nah, that's just nicht so good," and did not send any aid to Kislev as they were worried that their lands would be taken by the other Elector Counts if their army wasn't present. Q. Magnus the Pious. Magnus was a minor lord who rose to prominence after putting down a Titsnitchian cult. He then travelled the Empire going full Sigmar specs and wrecking Chaos's tits, slaughtering beastmen and Chaos wherever he found it. Slowly, the Elector Counts put their might behind Magnus, and when he walked through the fame of Ulrich and was unburned, Middenheim joined him to form the largest army the Empire had ever mustered. Backing up this army was everyone's favourite overpowered crippled Teclis, and a few other mages who were being proactive about the end of the world. They arrived at Kislev just in time and a big ass battle occurs. Even the Dawi got involved, Glorious melee combat erupted, which resulted in, you guess it, Magnus smashing the brains out of the Overchosen with a Warhammer. With that act, the armies of Chaos were crushed, and Magnus became the first good emperor they had in hundreds of years. With Teclis's help, Magnus set up the colleges of magic, as it was way more fun to incinerate Chaos from afar than it was to fight a chosen champion melee combat. He also sorted out all the political bullshit going on, and ushered in a golden age for the Empire. An age that as soon as he died ended, as the Empire once again became a bunch of spastics and went back to bribery for political gain. This came to a head when a Stirlander Emperor allowed Marienburg to secede from the Empire after they became $100 Patreons of his. The other elected counts were like, nah bro, and disposed of that emperor and elected the Count of Reichland to be the new emperor, the direct ancestor of Karl Franz. The rule was a good one, and eventually Karl's father died, leaving the election open. Karl had lived his life pretty content at that point and wasn't super keen on being emperor, despite the fact that he already had a bunch of gods and prophecies wanting him to do so. When the election came, he still scored a number of votes, but not as many as fucking Toddy. Despite Toddy getting a lot of votes, it still wasn't enough to win the crown, hence the election was delayed for 2 weeks. During that time, Karl randomly killed an Arachnarok spider, before the Green Knight then saved him from an assassin. The Green Knight was like, "Karl, I am here to deliver another prophecy about you and how you should totally be emperor, and also chat to Leon Kerr about it." So Karl chatted to Leon, and Leon was like, "You should be emperor or Chaos will kill everyone." And Karl was like, "Why couldn't the Green Knight just tell me that?" And Leon was like, "'Cause it's less epic that way." Hence, Karl decided he wanted to be emperor, and he had to convert another 6 votes to him. He first went to Volkmar the Grim and his Archlectors, who controlled 3 votes. They had abstained from their votes in the last round, as Karl was a slut in his youth, and fucking Toddy was a filthy Middenheim pig. However, when Karl was like, "You should vote for me because the Lady of the Lake said so," Volkmar got super pissed off because all he does is jack off to Sigmar. Karl then went to go chat to the Halfling of the Moot, as well as Marius Leerdorf, the batshit crazy Count of Averheim. Marius had already voted for Karl, and Karl gained the Halfling's vote after promising him a spicy trade deal. As they left, they were cornered by Middenheim thugs, who threatened Karl, but Marius thought it was a good gag, so he viciously attacked them and drove them off with the help of Karl. Karl would go on to talk to the rest of the elected counts and politically manipulate all of them into voting for him, becoming the best statesman the world had ever seen. He also got saved by a Titsnitchy assassin by Volkmar, who then acknowledged that maybe Sigmar had been banging the Lady of the Lake, hence her opinion was valid. By the end, he had won every single vote, including that of fucking Toddy's, bar one. The one vote he didn't get was one of his supposed allies. As Karl was crowned, he called forth the one man who did not vote for him, and he proceeded to bludgeon him to death with Galmaraz, revealing it instead to be a changeling of Titsnitch. Everyone was like, "Wow, so impressive that Karl knew that was a changeling." And Karl was like, yeah, I knew that was a changeling, definitely, all along, fuck." Karl would then go on to purge the Empire of Chaos, smashing beastmen, Skaven, vampires and Norskins time and time again, until the Battle of Blackfire Pass, where the Greenskins came. He led his forces against them, with Marius even losing his life in the battle. Eventually Karl dueled the massive war boss, and despite his skills, he just couldn't beat the roided up mushroom. Eventually Karl was forced to his knees, and the orc went to kill him. "But this is Karl Franz, Avatar of Sigmar we're talking about. Mama didn't raise no bitch." Karl transforms into Sigmar, and with a fat uppercut, one-shots the orc and blows up his brains. Yes, Karl, you get him. And this pretty much brings us to the pre-End Times lore for the End Times. I cover what the Empire did during the End Times extensively in my End Times Explained video, but I'll give a quick recap here. Chaos had been progressively getting stronger and launched their apocalyptic invasion of Kislev. Balthazar was given a powerful scroll by some undead chick, and he used it to create a magical wall which blocked off Chaos from the Empire, and was powered by faith. This was quite retarded as a plot point, but okay. Balthazar eventually got into necromancy, as he saw it was quite effective to use undead soldiers instead of living ones, which, while he had a point, resulted in everyone losing faith in Balthazar and the wall coming down, as it no longer had people's support. Volkmar is a dumbass and gets captured by Manfred and then sacrificed to bring back Nagash, while Nurgle's forces beeline for Altdorf. Karl dies like 3 times to various different enemies, but somehow survives and eventually absorbs the winds of heaven, becoming a demigod and killing the forces of Nurgle. Valten goes to Minheim to try kill Archaon, who gets assassinated mid-duel by a Vermin Lord instead, whilst Boris wanders into the forest, kills Kazarak One-Eye before getting torn to shreds by the Beastmen hordes. The Empire gods die one by one, from Chaos, Nagash, and then Teclis, who kills Ulrich in order to revive his brother Tyrion, with only Sigmar being the last remaining Empire god. Chaos begin opening another warp gate underneath Minheim, which if activated will destroy the world, hence the forces of order and destruction and death unite to stop it. They nearly succeed, but then Manfred goes full bold cunt mode and kills Balthazar, which fucks with the ritual and ends up also killing Teclis and Nagash as a result of the magic overload. Karl turns into Sigmar and beats the shit out of Archaon, but then Archaon reappears and the 2 demigods are last seen kicking each other in the balls as the world explodes. Then you know Sigmar lives and we have this delightful old thing. The Empire is a very diverse faction. They have monsters, magic, guns, arrows, and even a dragon. A lot of the technological advances they owe to the Dawe, whilst they owe their magical advances to the elves, so really the only thing the Empire were really good at developing was cult-like religion. In saying that, the cult-like religion was actually a really positive thing of the Empire, hence why fantasy is in the title. Real use of religious cults in reality always end in tears and loss of net worth. The Empire lore has basically 4 interesting time points: Sigmar, the 3 Emperors, Magnus, and then Karl. With the return of the Old World, I'm really interested to see what they do with the 3 Emperors timeline, and how they flesh it out. I've read that it'll be a lot like the Horus Heresy in the way that it focuses almost exclusively on the Empire, so hopefully it'll be good. And that does us for today, guys. The history of the Empire, its greatest heroes, its political bullshit, and its end times. The Empire is a massive focus for Warhammer Fantasy. There are subplots within subplots and really rich lore that I encourage you guys to go discover. To be honest, you will learn most of what you need to know purely from playing Total War Warhammer, from what I've seen. If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, consider jumping on my Patreon. Only $1 gives you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.